Hello, welcome to our monthly Meet the Expert. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym, and I'm really excited about this one. I've been looking forward to this for ages because I've got Harpreet Channa with us. Good morning, Harpreet. How are you?
Morning. Thank you. I'm really well, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak today.
It's my pleasure. I met you at an event, must have been about 2 months ago now, at the Excel. And I really didn't want to go that day, if I'm honest. Going out to events with loads of people, there's a little bit of hesitation still, I must admit. But I'm so glad I went because I got to meet you. And that was a key thing for me that day. I've lost your video for a second. I'm hoping you're coming back. There's always techie issues, isn't there? We'll just carry on at this point. I'll explain. I can hear you. Okay, so are you there, Harpreet?
I'm here, yes. Can you not see me at all?
I'm getting a little bit here and there. I'm just wondering if your broadband is struggling. We've been talking for 15 minutes. We've been fine.
Without a problem. It's just difficult. Let me just try turning the video on and off and see if that makes a
If you want to share your first slide, and let's see if that kicks in. As long as we can hear you. We got to see your beautiful face at the start there. And it might be that it all settles out. So if you want to share your screen, and let's see if that comes up.
Hopefully.
Because if it does, we don't have to worry. If it doesn't, I can see it. We're good.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think it might just be a broadband issue at the moment. Charlotte's monitoring us on LinkedIn Live. So you can either watch us there or you can watch us here. If you've got a question for Harpreet, then do please put it in the chat on either platform, and we'll have time, 10-15 minutes at the end for Harpreet to answer those questions. This is all about Banish the Burnout. Now, I'm not going to get you to go straight into the presentation. I want you to introduce yourself first. So just let people know who you are and what you do, Harpreet.
Yep, sure. Thank you. As you said, I'm Harpreet Channa. I can go into the first slide if you want to, actually, because I do talk a little bit about why I set it up and sort of my background. So I'll go into that. So I'm actually a qualified pharmacist by background. I have been for over 16 years. I have 20 years of experience across all various variety of sectors in healthcare. I held 2 senior national roles, and it was during my time in one of those roles that I really struggled with stress and burnout. And like many of us, I suffered in silence for a number of years. I didn't talk about what was going on. I didn't feel like I could. I felt that I would be judged. I felt that people would think I was weak. And so I kept it to myself. And unfortunately, what started out as stress then became burnout, which then became depression, and quite severe depression before I really realized, actually, I've got to do something about this and I'm not in a good way. And in fact, turning my life around with the help of a mindset coach is what gave me the drive and the impetus 4 years ago to retrain. And I now am a global executive leadership and wellbeing coach. So I coach and train execs from all over the world on both the leadership and the wellbeing, because the two are linked. You can't have one without the other. And so my focus predominantly is on self-leadership. And I set up the Mental Wealth Academy 3 years ago. And so now I deliver, and these are some of the companies I've worked with, I deliver training and coaching, on, again, as I said, the sort of mental wellbeing and leadership type topics. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I do in terms of the topics later.
And this is what drew me to you, because you qualified pharmacist working in that area for that time. And I suppose it's stereotyping, really. I see pharmacists as like top of the tree with doctors, totally capable, would trust them. Literally, you're trusting them with your life. I go to the pharmacist if I can't get into the GP. I'll always go and ask them, and they usually are able to help me. So I think they're just amazing people. So we forget you're people, and you have the same stresses and issues as everyone else, don't you?
We absolutely do. And in fact, when I first started talking about this 3 years ago, I used to say, listen, we're healthcare professionals, we get sick too. Just because we look after the sick doesn't mean that we don't get sick. We absolutely do. But in health and social care in particular, because these are fields where we really put the needs of others before our own constantly, What happens is that we can really, not only do we struggle, but when we do struggle, we don't feel like we can talk about it, because we work with people who are so much iller, so much sicker, in much worse circumstances than we are. It's almost that I don't feel like I can even talk about this, because I shouldn't feel like this. There are people who are at the end of their life. There are people who are seriously ill. I've just got to get up and keep going. And that's what we do. And unfortunately, when you keep doing that again and again and again, what starts out as chronic stress does become burnout. And what then, starts off as burnout can then lead to depression and does.
Well, our market is the recruitment industry. So in-house recruiters, agency recruiters, and we can definitely relate to that. And we've sort of had a bull market that's just gone manic for probably a good 9-10 months now without a break. So actually, we're in a situation where I can quite easily see, and which is why when I heard what you did, I was like, we need you on Meet the Expert. We need to share this information, because I think we're getting to the point where we're going to get a lot of people in burnout that are really going to struggle, and they're not necessarily going to know what to do about it. They will talk about it, but do their managers know how to help them and to work through this? I thought if we can share some of your information, give them some ideas, and then from there, obviously, have that connection with you as well. So we've got your company LinkedIn details in the chat. So if you do want to approach Harpreet afterwards, then please feel free to do that. Okay, I'm going to leave you to your presentation now. I'm going to turn my camera off. Again, if that's using any bandwidth, that will probably help. We can see you now. That's fantastic.
Perfect.
Away you go. I'm going to mute myself as well, but I am here.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so, I've introduced who I am. The reason I set up the Mental Wealth Academy was because I was given such a gift from the coach that I worked with that made me realise just how much of what I'd gone through with my stress and burnout and depression was as a result of this, my own thinking and the way I was treating myself and speaking to myself. And she gave me such a gift that I looked around and I could see so many other people struggling. And I thought, I've got to do something about this. I want to give that gift back to other people and get them to realize actually that, we don't have to struggle in the way that we do. And that's why I set up the Mental Wealth Academy. And I'll talk a little bit about mental wealth in a moment. These are just some of the things I've been featured in, articles I've written, podcasts I've been featured on. And I do get asked to talk about this a lot because I'm very open and honest about my own struggles in a way that many people still aren't because of the stigma associated with mental health. So there will be a theme that kind of runs through today is actually it's okay to not be okay. And we need to make that, something that we live with. It needs to be an adage that we live and breathe so that we can really start to tackle the second pandemic of mental health that we are all facing at the moment. And so, okay, mental wealth, I'll start with what that is. So many of us, we're running around juggling balls and spinning plates in that constant stress reaction mode. You know what I mean? When you're just reacting all the time, you don't feel like you can catch your breath, constant firefighting. And I always say it's like, imagine the sirens. It's like, woo, woo, woo. It's constantly in that phase. And this is even pre-pandemic. Certainly post-pandemic, we're really feeling that this is how we are, reacting and how we are being every single day. But we forget that we're actually choosing to live our lives like this. We are, because we're not at the mercy or at the extent of other people or what's happening out there. We're the ones in control. We're the ones who are the architects of our own lives. You are the architect of your own life. And mental wealth is all about slowing down and increasing your own self-awareness and building your own self-leadership skills so that you can actively choose your response. Choose what you do instead of that default stress reaction taking over and constantly being in mode. It's understanding that actually you always have a choice. You have a choice on how you respond to things. And you can choose better responses that help you to thrive so that you're not constantly in that mode of survival and reacting. So mental wealth really is something that you invest in to help strengthen and protect your mental health. It helps you to thrive and not just survive. Now, I wanted to get a feel for where the audience is at the moment. So I'm going to try this and see how it goes. I want you, if you can, if you've got your phone nearby, or if you can open up another tab on your browser, can you just go to menti.com and input this code. I'm hoping that somebody can help just pop that code in the chat for you as well. So menti.com, and it's 24927338. And if you can go and I will bring that up in a moment, and I wanted to just do a live poll and just see how you're feeling at the moment. So we'll just bring up that poll for you now.
And we go to online www.menti.com and put
That's
it.
right. Yeah. So I've just popped it on the screen now, so you should be able to see that. Hopefully it should come through. Menti.com, and you input that code that's on the screen there, 24927338. You're going to be asked, how is work making you feel right now? Just see if you can put an answer in 1 or 2 words. You'll get asked for 3 answers, and just be genuinely honest. This is completely confidential. No one is going to know what you've said. But I just really want to get a feel for where you are right now in terms of how work is making you feel. So we'll just wait for some of those answers to come through. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm glad excited is in the middle there. That's good. Right, we'll just give it a few more minutes. Okay, so as these are coming through, just have a look. The bigger the word, the more people who have said it. Okay, so straight away we can see frustrated, stressed, overwhelmed, tired. I'm also really, really reassured to see that people have put valued and excited, because I do this quite a lot, and we always get the negative, but it's lovely to get some of the positive as well. We've got scared, exhausted, profitable, brilliant, never ending. I know that feeling. Opportunistic, too much, not enough. Too much, not enough. I mean, you know, they're parallels right there. Opposites right there. Sorry, should I say? Encouraged, drained. Okay, that's really great. Oh, we've got some more coming through. You just get a feel that actually, and at the moment, so I used to do this pre-pandemic, and we would get some of the stress, but certainly what I've seen is that post-pandemic, we're seeing a lot more of the stressed, the overwhelmed, burnout, the not enough, the drained, that type of thing, the tired, and it's, of course, it stands to reason, given what we've gone through the last 2 years, that this is how we would be feeling. So I just wanted to get a feel for where you are, and also for some of you to realize that you're not on your own. That's the key thing I want you to take away from this. Look at the biggest word there, the 3 biggest words: frustrated, stressed, tired. A lot of the time we can feel that we're on our own here because this isn't talked about openly. And I just want you to get a feel for, actually, you're not on your own. There's many of you who are feeling a similar way. Thank you for taking part in that for me. I appreciate. Oh, we've got some more coming in there. Appreciate that. Okay, so that's giving me, a bit of a sense of where we are, and prolonged stress and certainly in terms of what we've experienced over the last couple of years can be really damaging, and that's what can lead to burnout. And so before we even look at what burnout is, we have to think about what stress is, and really think about the definition of stress. So stress is a normal human reaction to new situations, pressures, or threats. It can be positive, right? Stress is what we need in order to be able to deal with day-to-day life. It's normal and it can be positive. For instance, if you were being chased down the street by a bear, you would need that stress reaction in your body, that fight or flight, to give you the rush of adrenaline and the cortisol, the stress hormones, in order for you to be able to either stay and fight or run like the wind in the opposite direction. So we need that stress response. That fight or flight is absolutely a normal reaction for us. The problem is that when we're experiencing stress for a prolonged period, where we start to feel overwhelmed, we're emotionally drained, we're unable to meet constant demands, as that stress continues, you can start to lose interest and motivation that led you, particularly at work, to do a certain role in the first place. And that leads to burnout. So long-term stress is what causes burnout. And burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion that's caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Okay, so this is very different. It's much longer term than stress. It's a feeling of feeling empty, mentally exhausted, devoid of any kind of motivation. Stress is the opposite. Stress is agitating and activating. It makes you do things. Burnout is the opposite. You completely lose all motivation and almost beyond caring. And eventually you can feel like you've just got nothing more to give. And it can be caused by a total disconnect between what you're doing and what you want to be doing. And we're seeing this for a lot of people who don't like working from home, who actually need to, bounce off other people in order to thrive. They've just had enough now of 2 years of being at home. They want to go back to that office environment. Equally, you've got people the other way, people who are being forced back into the office when they prefer to be at home. And so when you're forced to do something that actually you just really don't want to do, or it's out of line with your values, that's where we start to see burnout and burnout behaviors. And to really give you a sense of the difference between stress and burnout, I wanted to just show you the difference between how the two present and what their effects are. So if we consider stress versus burnout, in stress, right, we're over-engaged. By and large, stress involves too much. It's too many pressures that demand too much of you physically and mentally. It's active, it's agitating. And a lot of people, when they're stressed, they imagine that if they can just get everything under control, oh, I'll feel better, right? So it's a really different feeling, whereas burnout is the opposite. Burnout is disengagement. It's about not enough. It's paralyzing rather than activating, right? And so in stress, we have overactive emotions. In burnout, we have blunted emotions. In stress, there's a sense of urgency. It's that activating, agitating, got to get this done. Burnout, it's a sense of helplessness. You almost feel, what's the point anyway? Is anyone even going to notice what I do or how I do it? In stress, it's a lack of energy. In burnout, you're completely devoid of energy. Very much like this girl on the sofa here. You just can't get up and deal with the day. Stress leads to anxiety disorders. Burnout leads to depression. Stress causes physical damage on the body. We know that it does. We know that stress can cause strokes. It can cause heart problems. It can cause ulcers. It can actually even cause asthma. There are so many conditions that we can get as a result of too much stress in our lives, whereas burnout leads to emotional damage, long-term emotional damage, which takes a lot of coming back from. Trust me, I know, because I've been there. Stress is a high cause of premature deaths, whereas burnout is a high cause of suicide. Now, a couple of years ago, yes, burnout was a thing and we all knew about it. We'd all heard of it. It's not a medical condition, but we knew what burnout was. But what's happened is, because we've been working from home during the pandemic, because we weren't able to go out and enjoy ourselves and connect with people, which is what we need in order to thrive, we need that closeness, we need that enjoyment, we need achievement and fulfillment in our lives to be happy. We didn't have any of that for quite a long period of time. And so if you add those effects with the long hours that we were working, many of us were either homeschooling, or because we were working at home, there was very little distinction between home time and work time. And then some of us were getting sick. Some of us have lost loved ones. We've not been able to socialize and be able to take our mind off things in the way that we used to. Our old coping mechanisms all went out the window. Keeping ourselves busy and distracted and spending time with people that we love and make us happy, that all went out of the window. And it's starting to take its toll. That's why we're seeing, as I say, this second pandemic of ill mental health, specifically burnout. And so now that we're seeing so much of it, we understand that COVID has not helped and has really exacerbated the problem. What I also want you to think about is, if you're feeling this way, or even if you know somebody who's feeling this way, you can have this conversation with them. What do you think the cause of that burnout is? So we can see the external causes. We can know that COVID has caused that. But actually, when we think about the causes of burnout, they're twofold. We've got external causes and we have internal causes. So some external causes of burnout, things like if you're working in a job that's very demanding, you've got a lack of autonomy, you've got no say over what you do, you've got time pressures, workload pressures, lack of resources or support, if you've not got career progression, or if the organization's not very well organized, toxic work environment, bullying, these types of things are all absolutely external causes of burnout. So yes, we've had the problem with the pandemic, but there absolutely will be some of these as well. And these are the ones that we can usually articulate really well. I'm stressed because I've got a demanding boss. I'm stressed because I'm in a toxic work environment. I'm stressed because I'm being bullied. These are usually causes that we can pick up straight away. What's more difficult are the internal causes. And this is what I really want you to think about. What could be causing your burnout from an internal perspective? Are you a bit of a perfectionist, right? Are you the kind of person that just, you know what, I could ask you to do that, but I'm just going to do it myself because I'll do it quicker and I'll do it right. Bit of a control freak, maybe. Do you like things to be a certain way? I mean, I come from a pharmacy profession. We're all like this. So, you know, there's a lot of burnout in my profession because of this very reason. It's exhausting trying to make everything perfect all the time. Do you have really high standards of yourself? Many of us do. And if we don't meet those high standards that we have of ourselves, we really beat ourselves up and say the kinds of things to ourselves that we would never utter to another human being, but we do to ourselves because that's the way we've been taught. When we were young, we were told off. If we did something wrong, we were told off in a way to motivate us to do better next time. And we have picked that up and taken that with us into adulthood. So when we don't do something right, we beat ourselves down in a way to kind of motivate us to do better. But you know, a lifetime of beating yourself down, what does it lead to? Stress and burnout. So it might not actually be serving you in the way that you were hoping for it to serve you. And then there are some of us that work is our life. It's our substitute for social life. We end up doing it all the time. We don't make time for our personal life at all. We might have a strong need for recognition. We might be people pleasers. We can't say no. We take on so much because we just think, you know what, I can handle it. I can handle it. Putting our own well-being as a priority right down at the bottom. And then finally, we've got this high functioning anxiety or stress. You know, pop in the chat. Do you need a deadline in order to do well? In order to get the best out of yourself? Say yes if you can. I can just see some of the chat. I will be honest. I need a deadline in order to perform well. Right? I'm hoping that some of you are saying, yeah, I do as well. High functioning anxiety or stress is where you are purposefully putting yourself in a stress place, in a stress mode, in order to get the best out of yourself. Again, it's how we are conditioned. Oh, we're getting some. Yes, definitely. Deadlines really help. Yeah, exactly. This is it. And I'm exactly like that as well. So when we need deadlines in order to get the best out of ourselves, we need some stress and anxiety in order to perform. Now, when we're younger and we're at school, at university, right, and we don't have as many external pressures, that's okay. You can still carry on like that and it works. But as we get older, and our responsibilities outside of work increase, we all start to take on, you know, mortgages, we have families and all of these considerations. The amount of stress we're experiencing in our personal life increases. Then as we're progressing at work, we take on more and more senior roles, more and more responsibility. Our stress and pressure at work increases. So you've already got all of this stress, and then we're adding, we need that stress in order to get the most out of ourselves, you know, to get the best out of ourselves and to push ourselves. So we're adding even more stress into this big ball. And it's like, where is this stress all supposed to go? Because we're not taught as kids how to process any of this, right? And so this is why we're experiencing and seeing what we're seeing, because the pandemic has really brought this to the fore. So we have these additional responsibilities. We might need a bit of this stress and high functioning anxiety. And if you do suffer with this, you'll be the kind of person that on the outside, you explain that you are confident and you're successful, you've got it sussed, you know what you're doing, you know, really loyal, really dependable. But on the inside, it's very much like that swan on the surface, very, very graceful on the surface, paddling like mad underneath. That's what high functioning anxiety and stress, that's what it feels like. We portray a very different image outside than what's really going on internally, because internally we're this big ball of stress. And if we think about the tribulations of modern life, you know, how many resonate with this picture? It's just getting harder and harder. My own parents say to me that they couldn't have managed doing everything that we do back in their day. They're in their 70s and they say, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. Because in my parents' generation, my dad went out and worked as a skilled labourer And my mum, she didn't work whilst we were young, and then she got a part-time job, but mainly she looked after the home and the children. Now we have a situation where the cost of living is so high that both parents are working, sometimes full-time, okay? And even if you haven't got kids, because we've got phones, we've got email, it means we are switched on 24/7. We never really fully switch off. And then we've got increasing demands. We've got aging parents, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I am technical support. I'm admin support. I'm secretarial support for my parents. And now their health is failing. I'm also having to go and take them to appointments and things. So that is obviously a pressure that I'm having to think about. Plus, I'm a mother. So I also have to think about running my house and looking after my child as well. Plus, we have this need. We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to eat a certain way. We've got to exercise. You know, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. These are the tribulations of modern life. And then we add to that the coining of this term mental load. Has anyone heard of mental load? You may or may not have heard of this term, but mental load is where it's a relatively new term, and it relates to the constant pressure we have when we have to think of everything, right? Do you ever feel that you need to be 10 steps ahead just to be on top of it all? I certainly do, right? And so it's the invisible work that covers tasks like thinking, planning, organizing in relation to the house, children, parents, all the things that I was, talking about. And it's a permanent mental burden. It never goes away. And it can lead you to feeling dissatisfied with your relationship, exhausted, and not being able to switch off. And so when you add all that ball of stress, the tribulations of modern life, and then mental load, is it any wonder that so many of us are feeling like this? Be honest. Have you ever felt like this, where you just want to shut everything out and go and hide somewhere? I have. But I never showed it. And I wonder how many of you might be feeling like this now, or know of people who are feeling like this, but they also don't show it. Because for the majority of us, we feel like this on the inside. This is exactly how we feel. But on the outside, we show something completely different. There were days when I went into work crying on the underground because I just couldn't face getting up and going to work. But on the walk from the underground station to my office, to the door, I would calm myself down, I'd wipe away my tears, and I would put on my mask, and I would go back to being the life and soul of the party, the confident, bubbly Harpreet that everyone knew. No one really knew what was going on underneath. And so I ask you, how many of you, like me, are wearing a mask of capability? Just like that graceful swan, you're showing the external world that you're successful, confident, and capable, but what are you hiding underneath? Because we're just suppressing these emotions and feelings. We're not processing them. And by not processing them and trying to put a lid on them all the time, unfortunately, at some point, this mask, it can and it does slip. I know this from my own personal experience because mine slipped. And I ended up in a place where I was on a railway bridge near my house, not wanting to be here anymore. So I know from personal experience that it slips. We're just not designed to be at this point of stress for a prolonged period of time. Our bodies aren't designed to be in that fight and flight all day, every day. And so we have to do something about it. And that's why I always talk about prevention rather than cure. Because it's so much easier to work on yourselves and your mental wealth now rather than trying to recover, because that takes months and the personal cost can be huge. So I wanted to leave you with my 3 top tips to help beat the burnout. The first one is practicing self-compassion. You've got to be kinder to yourself, right? And the first way that you do that is to acknowledge your own burnout. It's the hardest thing to do because we have such high standards. We feel that burnout is a weakness. And I couldn't admit my own, as I've said. So acknowledge your burnout. Acknowledge how you're feeling. I might have actually triggered something today in the things that I've shared, and say, actually, yeah, I do feel stressed or burnt out, and accept that it's okay not to be okay. Hopefully, the poll at the beginning shows you're not on your own. And then what I want you to do, once you've acknowledged it, right? You know that compassion that you have for everybody else, right? When someone tells you that they're feeling stressed or they're burnt out or they can't cope, you have compassion for them. I want you to do this and extend it to yourself. All that compassion you have for others, turn it inwards. Catch yourself in the moment, because if you get to the point where you're feeling like I can't cope, things are getting too much, just stop and ask yourself, what am I saying to myself right now? What am I thinking about myself right now? Am I putting myself under any undue pressure? And is it true? Because most of the time it isn't. Oh, why can't you do this? What's wrong with you? You can't cope. Look at everybody else. They're all better than you. All of that, it's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And I would say to you, when you're catching yourself in that moment, and ask yourself, what am I saying to myself? Then say, would I say this to another person? Because if the answer is no, you shouldn't be saying it to yourself. We are trying to inspire and motivate ourselves to get up and get going every single day. And we cannot do that if we're telling ourselves we're no good, or we're not good at our job, or we're not worthy enough, or we can't cope, or we're weak. These things are not a way to motivate ourselves. We wouldn't dream of motivating anyone else like that. We wouldn't tell our kids or our friends, in a way to motivate themselves, you're rubbish at that. We wouldn't. So then why do we think it's okay to do it to ourselves? Language is everything. Think about what you're saying to yourself and be compassionate. Number 2, have a conversation. And this is the hard part. The first person you need to have a conversation with is yourself. I don't know what you answered at the beginning of this session. Only you know the causes of your burnout, whether they're external or internal. But you now have a choice. What do you want to do about it? Is there a situation or a person at work that's making you feel the way that you are? Is the job that you're in not the right one for you? Is there something else you want to do entirely? Is it a home situation that's leading to feelings of burnout that you need to deal with? Is it financial? It could be work related, relationship related, home related, finances related. But heed my warning, if you don't do anything about it and you keep pretending that everything's okay and putting on and slapping on your mask of capability, it will only get worse. So you need to have that conversation with yourself. And if you just need to sit down and get a notepad and write at the top, what is causing me to feel this way? Okay, and then just write, see what comes. What's causing me to feel this way? I feel like I'm burnt out. What's causing me to feel this way? And see what comes. And the second question, what can I do about this? Ask yourself, is it a conversation I need to have? Is it something I need to do? Is it a decision I need to make? To ease that pressure off yourself, and then do something about it. Now, in my longer burnout course, I give you tips on how to tackle this issue, how to have a conversation with your boss, how to have a conversation with your partner or your family. But for now, just try and figure out what the cause of your own burnout is and what you can actually do about it. And then make a decision to do something. And then finally, tip 3, organize your boundaries. Okay. One of the things that you can do to help yourself is to organize your own personal boundaries. When we don't have boundaries in our lives, it can be a lack of self-esteem because we worry about what other people will think of us if we put down that boundary, and we can't say no to people. Boundaries are really important, and you have to start with yourself, because if you don't set personal boundaries with yourself, you're not respecting yourself. And then other people won't respect you either, because by not setting your own boundaries, you're showing them how to treat you by the way you treat you. Okay, so we have to start with you and your own personal boundaries and setting limits with yourself. Set a stop work time. Look at what you need to do in the day and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to stop working at 6:30 p.m. Because the problem is when we don't have a stop work time, we stretch the work to fill the time. We have chats with people, we start doing things, we get distracted, we go on our phone. When you've made a commitment to yourself to finish at 6:30, you will finish at 6:30. If you don't have that time, you know what you'll do. Oh, I'll just do it later on when the kids are in bed, or I'll just do it later when it's a bit quieter and no one's, emailing me or calling me. So set a stop working time. Separate your work time and space. If you're working from home, right? If you are working in an office, when you finish your work for the day, shut the door and say to yourself, and now work is done. Because that's signaling to your brain that you're separating work time and space. We don't have the commute in the way that we used to do this. So we have to put in physical barriers. Or if you're working in a communal space at home, just cover it with a sheet or a screen or something. Cover your desk so it's out of your mind. And you can say to yourself, and now work is done. I'm covering my space so it's out of my mind. So we have to make these distinctions in a way we've never had to before. This is really important. Schedule downtime. Make it a non-negotiable date in your diary. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go and have a bath, or I'm going to go and read my book, whatever it might be. Put it in your diary and schedule it so that nobody else schedules anything else over it, and it is your protected time for your self-care activity. And finally, stop saying yes. Okay, if you're the kind of person that your mouth says yes while your brain is screaming no, Pause in the moment and just check inside and say to yourself, out of 10, how much do I want to do this? Because if it's anything less than 7 out of 10, if you don't want to be doing something, don't be doing it, right? Because then you're forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do. And again, I can teach you in the longer course how to push back with integrity, and say no, so you don't feel guilty. But for now, just check in. If it's less than 7 out of 10 in terms of wanting to do something, don't do it. Okay, so they're my 3 tips. And one final tip I would say to you is work with a professional. I can't stress this enough. Some of you will do that notebook exercise and think, I'm not sure I can do this by myself. And certainly 6 years ago, when I felt like this, I knew I couldn't do it by myself, but I didn't know where to go and who to go to. And so I stuck out my job that was making me sick a lot longer than I should have. So whatever is causing stress for you, you will probably need some professional help in working out which way to go. And that's why I offer to help. So if you want to talk to me about where you are and how I could possibly help you on an individual basis, feel free to scan this QR code or copy down this link, and you can book a free 30-minute call with me, and I can talk about how you can help yourself out of stress and burnout, or how I can help you to do that. Or alternatively, on the next slide, I'll put my contact details. And if you want me to come into your organization and either run the longer burnout course, or even my 4-part signature Lead Well, Live Well program, which focuses on the self-control, the self-regulation, self-management, the self-compassion, the real self-leadership skills that help to prevent sickness and illness at work, I'm happy to do that too. It really does cover, the course covers both leadership and well-being, and the feedback I get from it is always phenomenal. And so I'm happy to help. And so that's my code if you want to book a call with me, or alternatively, you can contact me at this. That QR code will take you to my LinkedIn profile if you're not connected with me already, or you can pop me an email. And I also have sent a brochure through to Recruiting Gym of some of the courses that I offer, which I believe will be made available to you. So you can have a look at some of the courses that I offer. And as I said, I'm more than happy to come in and help. Thank you so much for having me this morning / afternoon. I hope you've taken something away from that, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. We've put the Calendly link in there as well. This will get downloaded and put into the course. So if you're not aware of us, and I was having a look at some of the names on there because we can see, and there were a lot that I didn't know that have joined up very recently. So I don't usually call out people, but I did put that on the chat there for the people to say thank you for joining us. If you don't know the Recruiting Gym, there were more people coming in as we were going along. This is recorded. You can watch it here, or you can go into the gym. You've got the green button at the bottom that says Meet the Expert, all recordings and resources. This is number 19. So we've had loads of different topics over a period of time, lots for us to share that everyone gets access to. And we do have 5 free courses that we give to recruiters. So if you're in the recruitment industry, but mental health and wellbeing is a lot of that, and therefore that's relevant to everyone. So do feel free to join us in there as well. Thank you for Charlotte. Yep, the brochure will go into the course, so you'll be able to access it from there. Now, Harpreet, every now and again we've got to see your beautiful face, and then it disappeared. I think it's a bandwidth thing that's going on, but you're still there, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Oh, I don't know why I've gone again. I am here. And
it might be me. It might be me. Sometimes it's me, and it loses the video, and everyone's like, "No, I can see her." So I'll move on from there. If anyone's got any questions, now's your time to put those in. Although that was very comprehensive, and oh my God, I saw myself in so many of those things. I'm a very positive person. I always see the positive things. I always talk to myself, like you say, in things, but I've really had to work on that. It doesn't have to be perfect. This last year, I've got a proposal outstanding that I wanted to get across first thing this morning, but it's not perfect. And I've been like playing around with it, and I've had IT issues, and it's not gone. And I'm like, would it have been better that it just went rather than
just
me?
Progress, not perfection. Just send it. I think we should hold you accountable and make sure that you sent it.
It will be going soon. Oh, excuse me on there. And also that scheduling time. I'm good at that. I then book stuff over it. That's the issue, isn't it? Something urgent comes up, it's a priority. So it'll have to go in there.
it's non-negotiable. You know, I said it on I posted something on Facebook this morning, and I was talking about exactly that, is that in the morning, what we do is we look at our to-do list and say, what do I need to do today? And, oh, if I get a little bit of time to myself at the end, then that's a bonus. It should be the other way around. It should be, what can I do for myself today? And then you fit everything else around that. And that doesn't mean you have to get up early and do it, you know, be one of these 6 a.m.ers like me. You know, you can do it whereby you sort of say, okay, I need to carve just half an hour or, you know, 45 minutes for me to do this activity, because I know it's going to set me up for the rest of the day. But we need to switch it around, rather than it be, this is my to-do list and I might do something for myself. It's, this is what I'm going to do for myself, because that's going to enable me to do all this other stuff a lot quicker and a lot more effectively.
You're right. When we had that first in 2020, I used to go for a walk every lunchtime. So 1 till 2 was blocked out. It was my lunch hour. I do it with Charlotte. Charlotte's our marketing exec. So 12:30 to 1:30. So she'll be finishing now as this finishes. And she gets her lunch break, and really try to enforce that and don't encroach on that in any way. But I'm rubbish with myself. Peter, thank you for letting us know that you can see the video. It is me. I should have just shut up. I'll learn in future. I won't say anything until someone else says something instead. Really liked the interactive bit on Menti as well. So that's something else that I've learned today. So we'll definitely be using that. We can ask polls on here. But I think something different like that, people tend to be more interested to go across, but that would be great for our courses as well. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
I'm just having a look to see if there are any questions. There doesn't seem to be anything coming through. Ask now. You've only got another couple minutes, so get it in now. If not, they've got access to you though. And thank you so much. I've put it in the chat as well, the Calendly link, so that people can just click on that straight away if they want to book that 30 minutes with you. That would be fantastic. So the recording is here. You can come back to it. You can go to the course. You can download the brochure. It's all available to you. We do this once a month where you get free information, free training on a given topic. So we want to make sure. And next month, I believe, is social media. So come back again for that one. We've also got Ask the Coach on Friday, which is fortnightly, where if you've got any questions, challenges, problems that are going on that you would like a coach to help you with, we're on lunchtime on Friday, same time, 11:45 to 12:30. So grab your lunch, come and join us. 4 coaches. So between the 4 of us, we can usually answer all the questions. If for any reason we can't, then we put it to the next fortnight, and we'll get a coach that can actually answer it for you. Okay, that's how it works. I think we're all good. Thank you so much for that. Really enjoyed it.
No problem.
And very enlightening, even though I've done loads over the last 2 years on mental health and well-being. There's stuff on there that I'm just like, yeah, but you've got to do it, Angela. So
it's all stuff that we know. It's just we don't always do it. We don't prioritize it. And I think that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. The time to act really is now.
Yeah, so that's
3% of it.
3 tips are brilliant. I will be going back over that. I think I'll screenshot those 3 pages and just have them on my desktop. I think that'll be a good thing for me, just to remind myself to be able to do those things. Brilliant. Yeah. I'm getting on with that proposal. That's going. I'd love to say I'm going for a walk, but I've got 3 meetings until I can do that. But I will try and do that at the end of the day.
Yes, sounds good. Even if it's 15 minutes, just to get you a different change of perspective can make a huge difference.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Lovely work. We'll get you back again. Definitely want to see more of what you've got to offer. Thanks, Harpreet. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.